Hello, lovely people. Today I thought I would comment on the sick and disability forms. In my case, it was General Motors and Sun Life. At one time, we dealt with Metropolitan Life, and I think there was another one involved as well at one time. Anyhow, it was Sun Life that when the doctors actually ordered me back to work. And I went. Well, I thought I was going. The previous videos, you may remember, it's April the 14th, 2023, I was ordered back for. And then when I got there, they said, no, you're not going back to work. In other words, what I'm trying to say is no matter what the doctors are saying, you think those doctor forms are true blue. They're issued from the company, and the insurance company in league. And of course, you must fill them out. If you do not, well, I think everything just comes to a standstill. It does, because there's been accidents before where I never received my forms. And of course, because what do they care, right? And then you have to go and call them up of what's going on. Well, I can't live on nothing. So you get hold of them. Oh, well, you didn't send in your forms. Well, what forms? Anyhow, you get the forms, must be updated by the cooperating physicians. Sometimes it may be a special physician. And one takes it to mind and heart that they are going to follow the physician's discretion. What I'm getting at is no, they don't. So both the General Motors physician and the cooperating physician ordered me back to work. Well, that didn't happen. They said, "Oh, don't want you. You're a legacy employee." One of your doctors, out of how many doctors, supposedly did not have a license in the Philippines. And of course, they chose not to take that to court because, fine, take it to court. Well, why would they? Unifor didn't care. That was the big shocker. But apparently, he had sat the board with the insurance company before as the chair. In other words, his sentiments were with whatever they said. He was compromised. He was compromised, in my opinion. Anyhow, I did tell Sun Life, and the agent at times says, "Are you sure? What's going on?" Well, what can I do? The doctors, they said, "Oh," and it's like, in other words, she must have suspected that if I went back to work, or I thought I was going back to work, that everything might come crashing down. And that was her job for, oh gracious, I think I had the same agent for maybe 20 years. So maybe she did have an inkling. And she did help me in some, that the lady from Sun Life, because General Motors also refused me, even though it was only a little bit. Um, what was it, $200 a month for Hoagie for unemployment insurance? They tried to deny me that. This is the nature of General Motors. They're that evil. And then I appealed it. And first I got, you quit calling the accountant about this. This was right there. And Sun Life even told me I paid into it. So I'm due something. Of course, what was uh, Justin Trudeau giving people for COVID relief? 2,000 a month. and I was on like 200 a month unemployment. I said, "What happened?" "Oh, sir, that was before." Anyways, I told Sun Life the form wasn't worth the paper it was written on. I did get my unemployment when I appealed it, but General Motors fought that as well. And I'm still fighting them. The recent court, I lost, and I was really kicking the pants. But I have decided to go forward, not give up, and the papers, at least the application, has already been submitted to the Ontario Court of Appeals, and the battle goes on. Uh, my support network, things that have happened to other people, I have heard, don't give up, don't give up. One fellow, he rolled off a roof, and he was making like $100 an hour in Australia, I believe. Um, anyways, eventually he didn't get what he was expecting to get, and very similar circumstances. All his life savings depleted, and then he did get an offer of something, but it was not what he was expecting. But what can you do? Especially when your own union, Unifor, isn't even in your corner. Like, I was so surprised, although I had heard that the unions are a shadow of what they used to be, at least the ones, at least my union. A friend here, he's with the dockers, the dock union, most powerful union in the world, and hokey doodles. He is very well protected, and even the steel workers. But Unifor, ha, what a joke they are. What a joke. And they approached my dock worker friend to go out. And he said, "Well, I'd like to get another year in." And they said, "Well, we think you're pretty run down. And you should be thinking retiring." He said, "Oh." And he said, "Well, I'd like another year." They said, "Well, how about we arrange that you go out for a year of disability?" They had that power. They dictated he was out on disability for a year. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't deserved, but they had that direction. Whereas Unifor, I called back to work. My own representative is compromised because he was in bed with Green Shield, and they throw me under the bus. If you read his papers when I first went to help, when they stopped all my benefits in 2021, the paper even says it's almost identical to what the General Motors Canada paper says. It says there was no such doctor. Of course, again, they ignore everything else. The total sum of such and such, but they totaled everything up. Not just one doctor's receipts, all the doctor's receipts dating back to, I believe it started in 2021, right through till, uh, oh, I think it was 3 or 4 years. But then that maybe it had to predate 2021 then. I can't remember without consulting the papers. But it was that ridiculous. And they said, "Oh, you owe all this money or we'll take you to court." And I said, "Of course, I send it to the lawyer. The lawyer, we write up a paper and said, no, this is a drug service." And basically saying, "Go ahead, take us to court." But why would they? They knew they could get money from me because they control my income. It's a guarantee situation. But they knew they didn't have the power because umpteen doctors, a clinic saying that they didn't know me, but yet my son was born with one of their doctors. It was on their letterhead, registered with the embassy in 2006. And there was also accompanying receipts, I believe 2006. And they were never explained, but the union, but then he was with Green Shield more than he was protecting the employee. Myself. Anyhow, you'd like to think the papers are good. You're under obligation to fill them out. But if at all possible, know your doctor. If they're a friendly sort, tell them the truth. Say, look it, I'm such and such an age. They're trying to cut me off my benefits and put me in the street. Now, this is worded like I'm supposed to be going back to work, but in essence, that's not the case. Or maybe you could call them up and get some type of insurance and make sure it's written down. I don't know how that would work, but it certainly, they didn't care what the doctor said, and they don't care. Well, in the CBI, I'm teaching online for $8 an hour when I have students. They don't care. My income, retirement savings is pretty well negligible. I did try to keep some, and I tried to keep my credit good just in cases medical emergencies. Uh, anyways, God forbid that somebody else be in this situation. And I appreciate all the good wishes I've received from you, wonderful, wonderful people. You have a good day. Just don't put too much stock if you are in such a situation on those medical forms because they don't mean anything. Have a good day. Bye.